Hello everyone, welcome back to another problem tutorial from our Chapter 2 tutorial series for BOS 325 investment course. In this particular video we're going to be looking at problem number 20, which is going to be the last problem in this chapter's tutorial series. Okay, so let's read the problem together. It says, using the data in the previous problem, which was problem 19, calculate the first period rates of return on the following indices of the three stocks. So we want to calculate the first period's return, okay, based on two scenarios: A, a market value weighted index, and B, an equally weighted index. So remember, in the previous problem, we've done our calculations based on a price weighted index. Now we're going to be using the other two methods, the value weighted index and the equally weighted index. So this is a really good exercise for us. Let's start with A. For a market value weighted index, as you might remember from our lecture, we said that a market value index uses the market capitalization for the value of each component of the index, okay? And the market capitalization is calculated by multiplying the price of each stock by its quantity, okay? So considering this, for value at time 0 for a market value weighted index is going to be the price of stock A, which is 90, multiplied by its quantity, which is 100, plus the price of stock B, which is 50, multiplied by its quantity, 200 shares, plus the price of stock C, which is 100, multiplied by the number of shares outstanding from stock C, which is 200 shares. Okay? Now using our calculators, first bracket, 90 multiplied by 100, close the bracket, plus another bracket, 50 multiplied by 200, close this bracket, plus a third bracket, 100 multiplied by 200, and close the bracket. And that gives me 39,000 points, okay, or dollars. For the value of the market value, or the market value based on a market value weighted index, the value at time 1, we're going to do the same, but this time we're going to be using these figures right here. So 95, which is the price of stock A, multiplied by 100, the quantity, plus 45 multiplied by 200, plus 110 multiplied by 200. Okay. Go back to our calculator. 95 multiplied by 100 plus 45 multiplied by 200 plus 110 multiplied by 200. And that gives me $40,500. Okay. Now we can calculate the rate of return. Is going to equal V1 over V0 minus 1, okay, which is equal to 40,500 divided by 39,000 minus 1. Okay, run the numbers on the calculator. 40,500 divided by 39,000 minus 1, and that would be 0.03846, which is equal to 3.85 approximately, rounded. So that is the rate of return in the first period on a market value weighted index, right? So that's requirement A completed. Now let's go to requirement B. Let's read it again. It says an equally weighted index. So now, again, we want to calculate the rate of return on an equally weighted index. Okay? Now, in order to do this, we need to calculate the rate of return on each stock individually first. Okay? So based on the changes in price, we first need to see what was the rate of return on stock A, and what was the rate of return on stock B, and what was the rate of return on stock C. Okay, individually, and then we take their average, and that will be the rate of return on an equally weighted index. Okay, so the return on stock A equals the value at time 1 over the value at time 0 minus 1. Okay, and that would be the prices. So the price at time 1 is 95, at time 0 is 90. Okay, so that will be 95 over 90 minus 1. 95 divided by 90 minus 1 multiplied by 100. That is 5.55, or let's say 56 approximately, rounded. Because in my calculator it's showing 5.5555, so I just rounded up to 5.56. And the return on stock B, again, is going to be the value of stock B, or the price of stock B at time 1 over the price of stock B at time 0 minus 1. Okay, 45 over 50. Notice that this stock have dropped in price, so we expect to get a rate of return that is negative. 45 divided by 50 minus 1 multiplied by 100. That is a negative 10% rate of return. Okay, and the return on the last stock, stock C, value at time 1 over value at time 0 minus 1. That will be 110 divided by 100. Minus 1. Using a calculator, 110 divided by 100 minus 1 multiplied by 100. That's a positive 10% return. Okay. Now we need to take these three rates of returns and calculate their average. Okay. That will give us the equally weighted average is going to equal 5.56% plus negative 10% plus 10%. Okay, all divided by 3, because we have 3 shares. 5.56 minus 10 plus 10 divided by 3, and we get 1.853, rounding down, it's going to be 1.85. Okay, and that is the solution to part B. Okay, so going back, notice the differences here. If you remember, the rate of return in the previous exercise when we used a price-weighted index, okay, the rate of return was 4.16%. That was the rate of return on the index between time 0 and time 1, right? Now notice the difference here when we consider or assume a market value weighted index. The rate of return has dropped down to 3.85%. Okay. And finally, assuming an equally weighted index, the rate of return is only 1.85%. Okay. So notice how big of a difference that makes when we consider the criteria or the methodology of constructing an index and how that reflects on the rate of return on that index based on whatever performance, even if we take the same exact components of an index, when we assume a different methodology for constructing that index and calculating its total value, we get a different rate of return under each of the three scenarios that we discussed in class. Okay, I hope that you found this video tutorial useful in understanding problem number 20. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. And until I see you in another chapter's problem tutorials, keep on learning. Take care.